I know during Nevada, there was a lot of corporate media pundits crying, and no one really understood how to report it.
We don't know what to do.
Save for independent media. But, if you look at other foreign countries, let's take France, for example. Yeah. Let's take a look at how, well, Daniel, you found this video.
So this is interesting. So we, even here at Hard Lens, we do so much coverage on the American election, and we do so much coverage on how the media covers what happens and when and how it does. I thought I would give everyone this, I don't know, it was a very weird feeling for me when I saw this video. This is what we're about to show you, which is clip 2, is French state media. Again, I'll say it again, Macron's French state media and how they cover American politics. I want you guys to watch this and think to yourself, does America even talk about this? This is how the French covered Nevada. Check it out.
With a sweeping victory in Nevada, Bernie Sanders has cemented his frontrunner status in the Democratic nomination race.
In Nevada, we have just put together a multi-generational, multi-racial coalition, which is going to not only win in Nevada, it's going to sweep this country.
Sanders does appear to have successfully broadened his support base beyond his long-standing core of white progressives and young voters. A majority of Hispanics backed him. He also did well among all age groups except the over 65s. He also added union members and white college-educated women to his coalition.
Now come back here!
Well, you got it.
Former Vice President Joe Biden enjoyed a second-place finish that provided a much-needed boost to his flagging campaign.
But I feel really good. You put me in a position, the press is ready to declare people dead quickly. But we're alive and we're coming back and we're going to win.
And I congratulate Senator Sanders on a
Pete Buttigieg, trailing just behind Sanders in the national delegate count so far, went on the offensive, criticizing his rival for being too left-wing.
Senator Sanders believes in an inflexible, ideological revolution that leaves out most Democrats, not to mention most Americans.
It's still early days. South Carolina's primary is coming next weekend, and the key test, Super Tuesday, is in early March.
So, did you guys hear that? I mean, It was a little bit subtle at the beginning, but when have you ever heard mainstream news actually break down the areas where Bernie Sanders won as a main portion of what happened? So they're going, Bernie Sanders won this group, Bernie Sanders won white women, Bernie Sanders won Hispanics. Whereas the news media is like, oh, I mean, there was a small victory that may or may not have happened that we can't. It's just very fascinating that French news, translated French news back to English, is somehow like good, like comparison.
Right.
Like it's a comparison to U.S. media. It's like, it seems like they're actually like, okay, here's the results. We'll tell you the results.
Right. And the thing is, like, sometimes even when talking to my friends overseas, it's very interesting how more informed they are about our election cycle and who the candidates are and who the clear front runner is, and how they've told me that, hey, your media keeps on getting it wrong. Because remember, when we saw that video that we shared with you, Bernie Sanders, they were declaring him, yeah, he won. He was a front runner. But if you compare that to corporate media, even in 2019, they kept on saying that Biden was this inevitable leader that was going to win everything. And no, it wasn't the case at all. And notice they never said like a surprise win, because that's what corporate media and CNN and MSNBC, they were all saying this after Nevada. Like, this wasn't, no one saw this coming. We didn't know, like, what, or we kind of knew, or yes, this, like, no. It's like you see corporate media trying to cover up its tracks, but I'm not saying every institution overseas is perfect, but compared it to what we see with Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, it's a complete disaster. Jerome.
No, actually, the only question that I have is for somewhere like in France, then, when they do news like this, is money involved there? No. Is that why they keep reporting away to America?
It's not as bad as it is here in the States. Look, like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect institution. But if you compare our institutions in the United States, especially our media institutions, and compared to overseas, it's night and day. There's such an example of biased journalism here in this country, where you have 6 major corporations controlling all the media. Right. in the United States, like 6 major corporations. So, you know, just think back to that skit from Saturday Night Live. We talked about this on the Patreon show, but I think it's important to bring this up. You know, there was that Saturday morning TV Funhouse, right? And the last, you know, clip that was ever played on SNL was when the creator, the artist of that, did a skit on how the corporations are buying up all the media and how NBC is with GE and how GE is doing all this corrupt stuff and it's polluting the environment. And then that was it, because corporate media, the corporations that control the media here in the country, want to control the narrative. And if you look at how they cover elections, it's like they always go for the establishment candidate. Compare that to countries overseas, and they say, well, no, it's Bernie Sanders, or it's this candidate that this is what the media is getting wrong. And it's sad and depressing how far this country has fallen in regards to actually doing real professional journalism. Hence, this is why we're here.
So that's another really big thing on this that Jerome brings up the point, because it's like, I wanted to play that to remind everyone that the way things happen in America is an anomaly, and that we're so inundated with it because there's so much ubiquity in the news and how everything we've gone through before about the news. It's just a reminder that as soon as you step outside of America, news is done very, very differently. You know, actually a place that has very similar news to America is India. They have a very similar pundit, let's yell at each other. Let's not, Coke is best. No, Pepsi is best. No, Coke is best. No, Pep. As the anchor, I think that both drinks are acceptable. And we'll move on to something else. And that's not normal. I want everyone to remember that the way that the U.S. does news is not normal.